All right, welcome back for another edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted, the program where you get to help make Calhoun County a better and safer place for all of us. I'm Chris Wright, along with our sheriff, Matthew Wade. Good to see you, Sheriff.
Hey, it's always good to be here. It's good to see you, Chris.
All right, our viewers have done another good job this week.
Our viewers always have never let us down. We have 4 arrests this week, brings our count up to 4,154 people put in jail, all because somebody was willing to help us. I can't say it enough that this is our town, our community. When I say our, I mean you and me. So we've got to have each other.
All right, now we've got another thing that we want the community to help us with this weekend. We don't just need their help finding people and solving crimes. We need their help with a 5K run.
A 5K run, Cops for a Cause, is this Saturday. We do 2 charities at the Sheriff's Office. People might know us maybe more famously for our fried turkeys at Thanksgiving, but this is our spring a charity event where we do Cops for a Cause. It's a 5K run. We give all the money to the UCP. So it's a very worthy cause, and if you've never been around or been touched by somebody who has cerebral palsy, those people will make your day so bright. If you're ever around one of them, and you will leave there thinking, I'm gonna go be nice to these people, they need help, and when you leave you go, man, they gave me such a blessing.
So just to be clear, on Saturday when we come out for this 5K, we're not going to be confused. It's going to be clear that we're running with cops, not running from the cops, right?
You know, we thought about it in the past, having maybe some, see if we can improve some people's times. But you know, we like coffee and donuts a little too much to do that.
Yeah,
so
well, the canine officers could certainly help.
Yeah, canine officers, but it's not a sham. We're not bringing you in, wanting you to come in to check people's IDs for wanted or anything like this. This is truly a charity event, and we've had a great time with it. And we hope you come out if you like to run, and the money will go to good people and help them do great things.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the first half of this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
And welcome to this week's edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. First up this week, Shannon Rudd. Mr. Rudd, last known to be living in East Teboga. He's wanted for possession of a controlled substance and illegal possession of prescription drugs. And take a look at Jacob Brown. Mr. Brown, last known to be living in Oxford. He's wanted for a failure to appear on public intoxication. And meet Tracy Duncantel. Mr. Duncantel, last known to be living in Anniston, wanted for probation revocation, for possession of marijuana second, and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. And this is Dana Poole. Miss Poole, last known to be living in Ohatchee. She's wanted on bond revocations for possession of a controlled substance, illegal possession of prescription drugs, possession of marijuana second, and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. And we'd like you to meet Christina Post. Miss Post, last known to be living in Anniston. She's wanted for a probation revocation on use and possession of drug paraphernalia. And last up for the first half of our lineup, Ontario Swink. Mr. Swink, last known to be living in Anniston. He's wanted for failure to appear on violation of a domestic violence protection order. And that's it for the first half of our lineup. Stay tuned for the second half later in the show.
More bad guys in just a few minutes, so we hope that you can help us find some of those. But let's take a break from that right now and talk about something good coming up in the community. And Kent Maddox is with us from Word Alive International Outreach. Good to see you, Kent.
Thanks, Chris. Good to be here.
I understand we've got a big event coming up at the beginning of May where we're going to bring a lot of our faith community and the community as a whole together.
I'm very excited about the event. First of all, I was scared when I came in today because I didn't know that I was going to be on this program. And they said, "Are you here for Calhoun County's Most Wanted?" And I was like, I hope not. Now I'm between you and the sheriff. I'm like,
this is like Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you guys for all you do, by the way, first of all, for our community. I really appreciate that and all that you do serving our community. And yes, we are having an event May 5th at 9 o'clock. It's the Freedom Riders, and so most people maybe know about this, but 1961, it was a huge event in our area where the Freedom Riders came. 7 whites, 6 blacks came riding buses out of Washington, D.C. for civil rights, and obviously had a very traumatic experience here in our area from the bus station to 202. And so that route kind of connects our church to Anniston and Calhoun County, the seat of Calhoun County. So over time, we would ride that route and just started honestly praying about, what could we do or what could we help initiate that could just do something to bring our community together, not to dredge up the past of hurts and wounds, but hopefully to bring some healing and reconciliation, not just for racial division, but political division, religious division, because we realize we have so much more in common than actually separates us when we talk about it.
You can't get past something until you understand it. And let's just be honest, when the bus burning happened, there was not good, honest conversation going on throughout the entire community about why it happened and what it meant.
Correct.
We're at a different place today. We can have a conversation that we couldn't have at that time. And so the new national monument and events like this are allowing us to have those conversations one-on-one with people who were, I've talked to a couple of the people who were part of that event when it happened, and it really impressed a lot on me. And to be able to have those conversations with individuals who remember it, but maybe from a different perspective, it does have an impact.
It does, and unfortunately, in all honesty, I was ignorant of the history. And I'm from here, I grew up here, then I moved away for 20 years, but I was really ignorant of this history that had happened in our community. And so when we began to educate ourselves about it and realize, wow, then we found out about the Freedom Riders Association, which has been at work for years now, getting these monuments turned into national monuments. And so any proceeds from our event, it goes to the Freedom Riders Association to hopefully be a part of building the park or enhancing that area as they move forward.
And as I understand it, we've got a lot of people involved in putting this event together.
Yes.
Word Alive certainly is initiating some things here, but we've got people from all walks of the community.
Absolutely. Our church was just a meeting place to kind of start the conversation. But yes, we have all denominations represented. 90 different local pastors are involved, civic leaders, political leaders, Democrats, Republicans on both sides of the aisle. Mayors of the cities are involved, sheriff, police department, and we're just excited that we can come together as a community. We're simply going to ride buses, started at our church, we're going to ride buses to the bus station, and there's, on that wall, I never even knew that was there, the kind of the monument there, you can kind of see the history of it. We'll have a short event there, just kind of educating people of what took place with some prayers of proclamation and repentance, really, and healing, asking for our community to come together. And then we traveled to 202 where the bus was burned, and we'll walk a mile together, have another type of reconciliation prayer type gathering there, and then we culminate back at our facility with a community choir, which will be awesome, by the way, which is made up of all denominations, all faiths, all races. And the young lady that actually pulled one of the men off the bus will be there. She's living in California, but she's coming to speak a moment, and we'll have a really great gathering there, and then food trucks in a community. And hopefully, we understand this won't be the answer to everything, but at least we can start a conversation, hopefully, to just become more aware of who each other is, what our hearts are for the community. And as you guys are endeavoring to make our community a safer place, we're hoping as religious leaders and political leaders, we could do our part to say we could come together and start really looking at things such as poverty and the drug epidemic and these type things. What can we do together to make our community a better place to live?
And Sheriff, I know this is probably an incident that is in the back of your mind as being the head of law enforcement here in Calhoun County, and this is a crime that was committed here many, many years ago, and still justice hasn't been served.
Well, a lot of times we like to focus on what we need to do. I like to take a second and think, you look back to 1961 and what happened then, and you look back to 2018, we've come such a long way. If you look at children in schools and how things go in our country, we've come a long way. We've made a lot of good progress. But what this does is goes back to what the Bible says, to love our neighbor as ourselves, help us understand each other, where we come from, so we can grow together even more. So sometimes when bad things happen, good things come from it. I think this is a good thing to do to help bring the community together. I've seen the advertisements on Facebook, and there's all kinds of people that I know that are excited about this and going to it, that if you went back to 1961, those same families probably would have been like, no thanks. So you know, it's easy for us to always go, well, this is terrible, this is bad, but we have come a long way in our whole thought process in America, and I'm sure there's people that disagree with me on that. I'm not saying we've reached the answer, but I am proud that we're doing things like this to try to understand each other, to try to understand our neighbor, so we can treat them as we would want to be treated.
Right. We need to take a quick break, but we want to talk about a few more things on this as well. So we will be right back with more here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
And welcome to the second half of our lineup. First up this half, Michael Johnson. Mr. Johnson, last known to be living in Gadsden, he's wanted for failure to appear on felony domestic violence, third assault. And this is Natasha McManus. Miss McManus, last known to be living in Anniston, she's wanted on a distribution of controlled substance charge ×2 Vacuza violation. And meet Shenardo Elston. Mr. Elston, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for probation violation on possession of a forged instrument, third. And if you would take a look at Matthew Wilson, Mr. Wilson, last known to be living in Piedmont, he's wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. And here is Nathaniel Thomas. Mr. Thomas, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for distribution of a controlled substance ×2, another Vacuza violation. And last up in our lineup this week, Douglas Phillips. Mr. Phillips, last known to be living in Anniston, wanted for distribution of a controlled substance ×2, a Vacuza violation. And that's it for our lineup this week. If you know the whereabouts of these folks, please give us a call at Crime Stoppers. That number, 256-238-1414.
All right, we'll have some more crime fighting for you to do in just a few minutes. We'll have some unsolved crimes, several of them this week that we need your help with. But right now we're talking with Kent Maddox from Word Alive International Outreach about this upcoming event for the Freedom Riders. We're going to have a march with hopefully a huge representation from the community participating in this. Before we went to the break, the Sheriff was talking about how far we've come since that incident. And we have come a long way, but do you think that maybe we've lost some of our momentum?
I think so, not just on the racial issues, because obviously we're much further along in that arena. There is still some obviously racial tension. There's no doubt about it. But we have so much even religious division in our community. We have 400 churches in our community,
right.
And you know, our conviction is, if just the churches, if we could just come together with the like-minded purpose to lay aside some of our doctrinal differences, which I don't think are as important today as they used to be, which I find it's a prime opportunity now for us to come together, because we can all agree that poverty's not good. We can all agree that addiction's not good. We can all agree that our children need to be educated and trained and fathered. And we can get on board, whether you're Catholic or Protestant or Methodist or Pentecostal, we can all agree on that. And so we're hoping and praying that not just we bring healing, because I think there is some healing, and like you said, just bringing up the issue for the point of healing the past, but then let's look to the future of how can we start working together in community-wide efforts to make Calhoun County a better place to live, and we believe spiritually that, you know, not to preach on your show, but the Bible says, you know, if my people who will call by my name will humble themselves and pray, God will heal our land. And we're wanting to say we will humble ourselves as political leaders, as religious leaders, as civic leaders, as law enforcement, to say we need God in our community.
I agree with that.
And we believe that this act of faith together as a community could invoke the blessings of God to Calhoun County, and that we could begin to attract, you know, commerce and better things, better blessings.
And the sheriff is constantly talking and using the phrase servant's heart. He's trying to put that into everything that happens in the sheriff's office and everything that the sheriff's office
Servant
touches.
leadership is important, and servant leadership means you're leading for others. You're putting those people before you. And as the sheriff, we can't do it. It's not about me. It's not about us. It's about the community, and we have to serve them first. And that term, servant's heart, you can answer every question with that. Is it better for me? It's not the right thing to do? You know, we need to serve others. So I think that's what people want out of their government. That's what they expect for us to do. Not only government, I think their religious establishments, they want that servant's heart. They want that servantship. and that's something we have to focus on.
Absolutely, and I feel like now we've got people like the sheriff in office and others that are in leadership in our community that have a heart for this, and so we just feel like it's an opportunity that things are just kind of like now's the time for some reason. Maybe a few years ago it wouldn't have been the time, but we're just kind of feeling like now's kind of the time we should take a step of faith and do something like this to see if something good can come out of it.
And the conversations that will happen on May the 5th will help decide which areas we want to push into and make some changes, right?
Absolutely, that's our goal. We hope while we're riding the bus together or back after the community event at the church, excuse me, while we're maybe having lunch together, we can meet different people from the community we didn't know about, find out what's going on in the community, what opportunities are available, because there's a lot of people in our community that are making a difference. We just want to make sure they get connected and we know how we can volunteer our time, our effort, our funds to connect with the right people to make a difference.
Getting back to the specifics of this event on May the 5th, I know we've got some people watching that this is a very personal thing for them. We're almost out of time here, but if somebody says, you know what, this means a lot to me, I want to be a part of helping make sure that this event is what it needs to be, how can they get involved in the process?
I'd love for you to go to thefreedommarch.com. You can go there and you can register. It's $25 to ride the bus and be a part of the process. Of course, that money pays for the bus and that we had to rent, and then any extra funds that are coming that day go to the Freedom Riders Association to help enhance their endeavors to build the park, etc. And so it's that simple. You register to ride the bus. We're simply saying get on the bus, walk the mile, and be the change. And so if you can register to do that, it'll start at 9 o'clock on that Saturday morning. We'll ride the bus there, ride the bus back, have the community event there at our church, and it should be an exciting time.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you guys for letting me come on today. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it
Thank you,
very much.
Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
And as was mentioned, we've got a whole bunch of churches involved in this, so talk to your pastor and see if your church is involved, and you can get some more details that way as well, probably. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then the sheriff and I will be back with our Crazy Criminal of the Week and the Crime Stoppers segment on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
And welcome to the Crime Stoppers portion of our show, where we ask you to help our investigators with the following cases. First up on your caseload this week, on April 9th, storage unit on Alexandria Wellington Road was reported burglarized. Some furniture and boxes of household goods were taken from that storage unit. And sometime between April 7th and April 9th, his home on White Plains Road was burglarized. 5 firearms, a Vizio television, and an Xbox were stolen from that residence. And on April 11th, 2 vehicles were broken into at a residence on Highway 144 in Ohatchee. They got away with a wallet, which had cash in it, and credit cards. And on March 15th, a white female in a 4-door white car was seen taking white Great Pyrenees into her car on Spring Branch Road in Alexandria. And sometime between March 10th and April 3rd, an iron door and metal claw feet from Antique Tubs were stolen from this location on Old Highway 431. And sometime on April 12th, this home on Hollingsworth Drive in Wellington was burglarized. They got away with medications, cash, 2 wallets, and a Guess purse. And on April 13th, a Glock 40 caliber was stolen from a vehicle located at Silver Circle in Jacksonville. And last up on your caseload this week, also on April 13th, an iPhone 6 was stolen from a gym bag located at Stadium Drive in Alexandria. And that's your Crime Stoppers portion of the show this week. If you know anything about these cases, please give Crime Stoppers a call. That number, 256-238-1414. Remember, we want your information and not your name.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Sheriff, I know that you've caught fugitives in a lot of different ways, right?
Yep.
Ever catch one using the obituaries?
No, I've had people call and say, hey, they're deceased, you have a warrant for them, but I've never used the obituary itself.
Some police in Oklahoma recently caught a fugitive who's been wanted for about 4 decades after his mother passed. And in her obituary, she was listed as being survived by her son, but instead of putting his real name, she put the alias that he's been living under since he escaped.
Thank you. Thank you. Whoever wrote the obituary, we appreciate that. We call that a clue.
That's a pretty darn good clue.
Yep.
Led him right to him, and there he is. That'll show you how long ago it was that he was originally incarcerated. It was a very long time ago, 1981.
Wow. He'd been escaped since 1981.
Yeah.
Long arm of the law, it keeps on reaching.
You think Mom did that on purpose, or?
I don't. You know, he's sitting there thinking, I haven't been caught in 40 years.
I wonder if, because I wrote the obituary for my mother. I wonder if he wrote it himself and put his own name down there.
I bet he did. I bet good piece of the puzzle to find out of, but I bet he did. I bet he put his own alias there. He didn't think about it.
Yeah, you're going to get caught up with at some point.
That's right.
Whether it's in this life or the next. All right, well, that's all the time that we have for this week. We'll be looking for you again next week, but hopefully not in the lineup or the obituaries on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.